G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life. And today we're going to be comparing the first and second generation of BMW 1 Series hatchback.
The first generation was launched in 2004 to replace the 3 Series compact, and initial reviews suggested,
as a practical way of moving your family and your belongings around, the 130 then works about as well as a goat.
And your neighbours will think,
That's an expensive car, he must be bonkers.
When these came out, they were certainly not cheap, but now they are. You can get a good manual 130i for 6 to 10 grand in New Zealand.
thoughts on the second gen were much the same. It's not terribly practical.
The only way you're going to get 3 people in the back of a BMW is by sawing their legs off with a hammer.
But like with the first gen, because the 1 Series is the only modern hot hatchback to have rear-wheel drive,
You can do this.
Because of the massive 6-cylinder engine mounted longitudinally in the front, these cars have a nice long bonnet, giving it ideal exterior proportions. However, it pushes the entire passenger compartment towards the back of the car, meaning I can fit in the front just fine, but no reasonable adult is sitting behind me, and the boot is really only big enough for basic shopping.
the engines though, that's where these cars shine.
Both of these cars are the highest performance BMW 1 Series hatchback of their respective generations. The first generation 1 Series, which I used to own, has a very familiar N52 B30, the very last naturally aspirated straight 6 BMW ever made. It makes 195 kilowatt or 260 horsepower and 315 newton meters of torque.
Reliability wise, they're really only known for valve cover leaks, water pump, and potentially diesel valve or valvetronic motor problems, but they're not common.
It'll be even better if you get it with the 6-speed manual transmission, because they pretty much never go wrong, but you could also get it with a ZF 6-speed automatic as well. But that's where the newer model has a significant advantage. The new ZF 8-speed that this one has is a far cry from the old 6-speed, and the engine is a significant upgrade too. This is an N55 B30, still a 3-litre straight 6, but now it's got a twin scroll turbocharger on it, which bumps the power from 195 to 235 kilowatt. But most importantly, the torque goes from 315 to 450 newton meters.
Reliability of the N55 is not quite as strong as the N52. They're again known for valve cover leaks and the water pump, but also charge pipes cracking, oil starvation on track as they don't have baffles in the sump, and carbon buildup. So that's the specs, but which one sounds better?
And now, finally, the interior. The new one's strong suit is build quality and technology. Getting back in the old one, yes, it has some nice leather seats and it does have a very nice feeling chunky leather steering wheel, but everything else is pretty bland and basic. The newer one has a not quite as nice looking but better feeling steering wheel. It doesn't tend to peel either. The gauges show a lot more information. It actually has like a color screen in the bottom rather than just a little orange LCD display like the old one. The iDrive is much better on the new one here, a lot snappier to use. It even has drive modes. The old one just has a traction control button. This one you can put up into Sport or down into Comfort and Eco Pro. And it has cruise control, which is a big plus for me. And just the overall build quality, like the material on the seats, all the stitched fabric over here just looks a bit more sort of interesting and nice. You can just tell that the newer one is a more modern, nicer place to sit. So the new one's got the better interior. Arguably it has the more powerful engine and certainly a better automatic transmission. But does it drive better? Boy oh boy, is it good to be back. Brings back some fantastic memories of my old manual 130i, man. And these things are not slow, eh? They really get on the move if you want them to. Great noise. Perfectly predictable power delivery. And then there's the handling and steering combination. This car obviously has been lowered on springs. It has some really sticky tires on it, and it is hydraulic steering. Man, the steering talks to you so much better than the new car, that's for sure. Immediately, anyone would know exactly what the front end is doing. For some reason I hear lots of people saying that BMW manuals feel terrible. I don't know what they're on about. I've driven Hondas, Toyotas, Subarus, everything, and these are some of the best. You can hammer through gears, bang, into fourth, you know. It feels great. It's a nice click clunk between gears. It's a nice notchy feel, but it's not like somewhere you kind of have to lazily shift, otherwise it crunches or it gets all sort of out of shape. This one, you can shift it exactly how you want and it'll just do it. Great torque from the N52. Obviously it is, you know, much slower than my newer 135, but if you wind it right out to 7 grand, then it gets on the move. And overall, look, the new one is definitely quieter. There's a lot more road noise in this one. It doesn't have anywhere near as many features, you know, the gauge cluster looks old-fashioned and simple and all that kind of stuff. But for me, I don't know, I feel like if I'm buying a sort of 10-15 grand car, it's nice to have some luxury features, but I'm okay to sacrifice like a little bit of road noise, a little bit of, you know, ride quality comfort for just an engaging drive, and that's what this is. The first major advantage with the new M135i is power. This thing makes a noticeable amount more power than the old 130. This does 0 to 104.7 seconds, whereas the 130i does 0 to 105.7 seconds. But the good thing about it is that it doesn't all come in at once. I'm not a huge fan of really laggy turbo cars where you got to wait for ages for the boost to come in and then it comes in like a light switch. With this, it delivers it in a nice, predictable fashion. Foot down, and it smoothly applies the boost just like a naturally aspirated engine, just with more to give. And then there's the transmission. Up and down gears, it is a masterpiece. The 6-speed auto in the 130 is all right, but this, with shorter gears and more of them, this thing is just better. So, it's faster, the power delivery is great, the transmission is excellent, and with it being rear-wheel drive, it's super fun. However, from here, things start to go the way of the 130i. It's got drive modes, which is great. You put it up into sport, and in theory, it makes the suspension firmer, the steering heavier, and the throttle sharper. You kind of notice the throttle, you don't really notice the steering, and you really don't notice the suspension, which makes you wonder, why bother installing ridiculously expensive and complicated electronic damping shocks if you can't tell the difference? And the steering, yeah, in theory the sport mode makes it a little bit heavier, but it still doesn't mean it feels good. I've learned how this car operates now because I've driven it, so I can do that and I'm like, oh yeah, I know what it's doing. But the car's not telling me, I've just learned what it does. So overall, the M135 is a better car. However, if I just wanted a car to get in and drive, honestly, I'd probably take the 130i. Did I make the right choice in upgrading from my old 130i to the 135? For my purposes, yes. I really missed the cruise control of my old 130, and having things like Bluetooth, reversing camera, parking sensors, added creature comforts of a newer car is worthwhile to me. That, and this is more efficient because it's direct injection and turbo, and with it being automatic, it's just easy to drive. This is objectively better, but I like the 130i. Thanks very much for watching, and I will look forward to seeing you again next time.